Alright. Oh, don't want to play that because I'll get copyrighted, but that's a new Starset song, absolute banger song. Really good stuff. So yeah, hello, hello. Impromptu live stream. I'm gonna try and do more streams during the week. Gonna just at some point probably just try and slice this up into content. The live streams like everyone else does because it's just easier. Um, and so yeah, that's probably the way I'll do it from now on. So it's gonna be the meta list. Hmm. So yeah, I thought there's a lot of stuff going on. Good evening. I will try and do a fixed time for streams. It's just I want to do one today. It's just not been productive today, to be honest with you. That's probably the problem. So I thought I'll try and live stream and be somewhat productive today, and then maybe tomorrow I'll download and slice this up, and that'll probably be the easiest way to do it. I reckon CBA to do it, but because we'll do some miscellaneous ones. It's ironic that they advertise this, but I've already got a membership here with Canva. That's how I make my thumbnails. I'll show you guys. I can, yeah, literally like how I make my thumbnails with Canva. Oh, that's unfortunate. Let me delete that. So yeah, you can see how long it's been since I actually made a video, but yeah, this is Canva. It's quite good. It's not a sponsored video, but if you guys want to get into YouTube stuff, you got to pay a monthly membership, but everything's monthly membership now. And if you want to remove background, you just press that button, and it literally just removes it for you. There you go, bam. You still got the chair and stuff in there, but yeah, fun to put like a. I wonder what I could put in the background of this. Oh, there we go, giant tank. So if we're gonna put this in the background, it's not sponsorship, but it's a good product to be honest. I'm gonna put the giant tank in the background. See that? It's pretty cool. So yeah, anyways, we'll go back to topics. So I'll some miscellaneous topics I was going to discuss with you guys, and then we'll do some major topics because there's quite a few of those as well to discuss. So intro music's done, so it's down to business, I guess. So no justice pointing out depressingly high numbers for the Lib Dems here, but there's this graph the Economist put out, and I take issue with the colours they've used because it's very confusing. But if you look at Britain voters who have defected from Labour since 2024 by demographic group, May 2025, right? So 2016 vote leaver. So this is quite old data, anyways. But 2016 Leave voters obviously gone to Reform Party. Some have gone to the Greens, which is crazy. Some have gone to. It's really hard to. Some have gone to the Lib Dems. Right, that makes sense. Social renters going to Reform is crazy because these are people who rent from the council or housing associations. So that's nuts. The disabled going to Reform again. They're going to gut the welfare system. So I don't get it. And going back for Tories doesn't make sense. 30k income going decent chunk to the Greens there. That's nice. Scotland, more Scottish voters going to the SNP, which is good. LGBT, a lot of them are going to the Green Party, which makes sense. Non-graduates going to Reform, which no slight on them makes sense. The unemployed going to Reform, that doesn't make any sense. A lot of them going to the Lib Dems and Greens, which makes somewhat more sense. Private renters, despite the fact that Labour have got the renters' rights bill coming through Parliament, it's a bit crazy that that they've gone to Reform/Tories as well. Given that the Tories wouldn't have put that bill through, but a lot of them gone for Lib Dems and Greens. Obviously, students, which makes sense. And if you look at it overall, the majority of them look like they've gone to the Lib Dems/Greens. With probably, it's hard to tell with the way they've done this graph. I think it's a bit silly, but yeah, it looks like Reform, Lib Dems, and Greens have taken most of their votes, which makes sense. I did see some interesting stuff here in this thread. From I think it's the Economist, yeah. So what's the inverse? How have Labour gained votes? Owen Winter puts no. Labour vote share hasn't grown with any group that I've looked at, but they're doing relatively better now with ethnic minorities and voters in London, which I think is crazy. I don't know how they managed that. And then, so yeah, it's not great. There was some other stuff that I think was interesting in here. Remain voters are sticking with Labour in greater numbers, interestingly. The chart is highlighting the groups that are most likely left. So this is just people who have left, not people who Labour have gained, which is non-existent. There was a far-right rally in London. So Tommy Robinson tried to say that apparently it's like 3 million people. This guy here, laughing at 110,000, but, 110,000 is a lot of people. Like, there's no way that's in the millions as people trying to call out. I don't know if this guy's trying to say it's... No, he's definitely trying to claim it as more. And I don't think these people... Wembley holds 90,000 people for football match. How many times would Wembley fit into the area C? I mean, that's not how stadiums work either. Grok is saying it's probably about 130,000 people. So, I trust Ultron more than I trust most of these goons. So yeah, 110,000 people is quite a lot of people, and I saw them beefing with the police. So I just nicked this from Curtis from Turn Left. So if you like good content, you should subscribe to them.
Acting violently, the Met Police said officers are having to intervene in multiple locations to stop Unite the Kingdom protesters.
Unite the Kingdom are the racist group, if anyone's not aware.
To access sterile areas, breach police cordons, or get to opposing groups. A number of officers have been assaulted. Now, this is a video of so-called patriots fighting.
So these are the patriots on this side. They're throwing stuff at police officers, very patriotic.
Now, a protest...
And based on what he's saying as well, they'll try to look, when you try and break police cordons to get into other protester groups, you're looking to fight other people. So, very patriotic, these guys here. They got these 110,000 people, very brave. Why they're not banned? Because the Labour Party are cowards, that's why. Ben Shapiro, this is great.
It is very likely to be either a white supremacist or a radical Muslim. If it is a shooting of a Republican politician, it is very likely to be a trans Antifa Marxist shooter.
That is just not true.
Trump was shot by a right winger.
We don't know what this kid is.
We do know this kid.
This was, before we actually knew who this kid was, which is he's a massively right wing guy.
Was of the left. We do know that.
We do know what?
That this kid was of the political left. That is according to contemporaneous reporting from The Guardian as well as Tablet Magazine today.
It's 2 days out. We don't know shit, Ben.
But
we don't know shit. They never do. The internet is undefeated in getting it wrong to
True.
begin with.
It's not about the internet. That's about the actual reporting by mainstream.
Bear in mind that they were reporting on the wrong people as the shooter as well.
The Guardian is not a right-wing.
Here's what we heard. Here's what I was told so far, and I'll tell you what was wrong. First, I heard he's a registered Republican. Not true. Okay. Then he was a donor to Trump. Not true. His father works in the sheriff's office. Not true. There was a picture of him wearing a pro-Trump shirt. Not true. Member of the Democratic Socialists of America. Not true. We don't know what he is.
Well,
how are you so sure he's of the left? Now, I agree when you write on a bullet, what did he write on the bullet?
Catch this fascist, which is also a gamer thing.
Okay, but now I'm hearing he may have been part of that group for whom Charlie Kirk was not right-wing enough.
You mean the Groypers, yes. I mean, so that would...
But you're sure he's not that?
I'm not sure that he's not that.
A minute ago you were sure what he was.
Hold on, Bill.
Got absolutely cooked by Bill Maher of all people, because... they tried to politicize this shooting when it was one of their guys that did it. It's nuts. So Zach Polanski actually fighting in support pro-immigration. I've seen a lot of good stuff from Zach Polanski. I do want to ask him, genuinely, I really want to ask him why he joined the Lib Dems in 2015. That's one of the big red flags that I've got from him. And I do want to ask him about that. So, yeah. If you guys would be kind enough, maybe tweet him and ask him if I can be on his podcast, or if he'd be kind enough to talk to me, that'd be great. Would love it. Be so happy. Like you wouldn't believe, so happy. In the words of Pep Guardiola.
I thought it was grim and depressing and pretty much indicative of a state of political conversation in this country. I actually thought the audience did a much better job than the politicians, because the one thing that was really missing from that debate was the truth. And I'll tell you what that is. Immigration is good for this country. We have an ageing population. We have 150,000 vacancies in our National Health Service. And ultimately, we need to make sure that we're training British workers, yes, but also if we want to keep our healthcare system working, our care system, and so many other industries, we need to make sure that we're accepting people here. The average migrant worker puts £78,000 on average a year into the system, then they take out. Why can't a politician from another party just say that?
This one is nuts. This tweet this guy's got here, because the figure applies to European migrants only, which I don't know what his source is for that, especially when we've had so much non-European migration as well. It doesn't, this guy Wessex, wherever, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, Mr. Polanski, I think it's fair to say that all political parties represented on stage tonight did agree that, migration could be good, and they did outline the positives. The problems for them and the audience was the numbers, the backlog, the number of small boats crossings, the number...
So immigration, conflating that with asylum. Don't know why she's doing that.
Number of asylums.
Been trying to get the Green Party person on the Sunday roast for the last 8 years. 8 years, QA. You sure about that?
Seekers still in hotels, and as was reflected by the audience and the panel
Evening.
tonight, was that the system is broken in terms of processing these asylum claims. What would the Greens do that would be different? How would you fix this problem?
Well, if I'd been in the debate tonight, I would have been...
I'd love to see them.
Able to say that small boat crossings are just 5% of overall migration. They're important to get right because these are people often fleeing their lives, but 95% of the rest of migration rarely gets talked about. In that debate, was 5% of the conversation about small boats? No, it dominated the debate. The way to stop the small boats today is quite simple. It's to offer safe and legal routes.
That's it. And, he's one of the few people in British politics actually offering a solution, which is safe legal routes. It's clearly spoken to Zoe Gardner a lot.
Because actually this is a manufactured crisis. The only reason people are on small boats is because Conservative government in 2016, 2017, and now continued by a Labour government, decided to go for performative cruelty, to delay asylum processing claims. It's important to point out that most asylum-seeking claims, over 80%, actually get approved. Those people have a valid and legitimate reason to be here. And all we're doing by putting them in hotels or delaying the processing is making it look more of a crisis, or a crisis at all, as opposed to dealing with people with common humanity and dignity and recognising the problems in
He's cooking, to be fair.
This country are problems of austerity. 14 years of Conservative government and now a Labour government that refuse to tax multimillionaires and billionaires just a small amount.
He's absolutely cooking. He's gone back to the thing that he actually does want to discuss, which is taxation. Trust me. This is how you do an interview when you want to go back to the topic you actually want to discuss. This is the Labour MPs, like the Labour ministers, can learn a lot from how to actually communicate from Polanski, ironically. So yeah, emails just asking if they can send someone. God knows how Max done it. I don't know. I tweeted him. I think I DM'd him, and I put something on his official, like the green, the page thing he had. And so yeah. Oh, I actually do have this video. Great. This is someone introducing. I think his name is Herzog. That's it. Isaac Herzog at Chatham House, because he recently came to the UK, and honestly, what she does to him is brutal.
He's been president of Israel since 2021. So has 3 more years to go. 60,000 Palestinians.
Oh, maybe they just don't rate us then.
Killed in Gaza as a result of Israeli military action. Many of them apparently children. The UN-backed IPC saying last month it has confirmed famine and starvation in Gaza. Almost daily settler violence on the West Bank, with more settlements licensed by Israel's government. And last night, Israel's strikes against Qatar, criticised by many countries, including the US and UK. Qatar becomes the 7th country to be struck by Israel in the past year or so, along with Lebanon, Syria, Palestinian territories, Iran, Yemen, and Tunisia, including the aid flotilla. Just in the past few hours, Israel has conducted more strikes on the Yemeni capital. Many of these actions have in turn brought international condemnation and huge public protests. The UK, along with France, Belgium, and Canada, is likely within weeks to recognise a Palestinian state. European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen used her State of the Union speech today to announced the European Commission will sanction.
Imagine having this as your introduction. Yeah, this is a guy who has been a part of a government that's done all of these things, and he can't even react.
Extremist ministers and violent settlers and pause bilateral payments. President Herzog, we have a lot to talk about.
Just crazy, man. Just crazy. You absolutely cooked him there. What's this for? Oh, there's more stuff I want to discuss, actually, but... this is Zach Polanski discussing the situation at Minister's Questions. Or, no, Mayor's Questions.
Do you recognise the International Court of Justice as the highest authority in court in the world that is saying this is a genocide?
I think it's very important, particularly when you're a leader of a political party, not to mislead. That's not what the court said. They said plausible genocide.
It's also important as the leader of a political party to notice when someone's going down the line of principles. So if it's a plausible genocide and we have the president of the country in this country who is committing a plausible genocide, should he be arrested?
I think the Prime Minister is the person where there's been a discussion about arrests of the Prime Minister. He'll be aware that the President of Israel is at a ceremonial position rather than the Prime Minister of Israel.
He's also the guy who signed bombs, by the way. So, he's very much involved in this.
International Court of Justice have cited statements made by Herzog as plausible evidence of Israel's genocidal intent. Would you agree with that?
That's what the judgment says. They're talking about Israel rather than the president of Israel, and he'll be.
They just said his statements are going to be included in their case, so most likely he'll be implicated in it.
Well aware, in terms of the way the government in Israel works, it's the Prime Minister who has the power rather than the president.
Why are you protecting the president?
I mean, this is what brings politics into battle. We all know. Remember once a clip for his social media, which is great bait. And provides clicks. These are serious issues.
But Sadiq, mate, you look stupid because you're saying he wants to clip you for social media, which is most likely true. He's also trying to get you on record as defending Herzog because all of this is on record, and that's what you've done here. You said, "Oh, it's just a ceremonial position," and all this kind of stuff. But he made you look really stupid. That's what he's really trying to do. He's not trying to just farm for social media. He's trying to make you look silly.
The issue can be.
Because this is going to help him platform against the Labour Party and show that it's not just Starmer that's the problem, it's also the other people within the party.
More serious, and social media is a means to communicate with people
True.
Who are really concerned that the Mayor of London seems to be protecting a Prime Minister that isn't arresting the President of Israel.
Well, here we go again. Peroration comes. That was a peroration, by the way, where the member is using Mayor's question time to raise points he wants to raise the leader of the Green Party.
I do think you're cheapening the discourse that we're having here because this isn't about making cheap political points. It's about standing up for the Palestinians. And I hope as the Mayor of London, you would also stand up for the communities who are really concerned about it.
And also the fact that the city that he is in is the one where the President of Israel is in as well.
I think what we're seeing is an example of the Greens trying to use the fora of Mayor's question time to raise really important issues in a trivial way.
6 minutes of words and the Mayor won't acknowledge it's a genocide. Thank you, Chair.
That was a soundbite.
Which is what you gave him. You gave him that soundbite. He baited you and you took it. You can't be mad at him. You have to be mad at the fact that Labour put you in a position where you can't go against Herzog. That's on you, Chief.
Was what the soundbite. That's what was been after for the last 6 minutes. That's sixth form politics.
Sixth form politics. You gave 16-year-olds the vote, you dumb fuck. Like, honestly, Sadiq, what are you talking about? You're trying to demean what he's saying, Polanski's saying, by saying, this is how students debate stuff. Your party's literally giving 16-year-olds the vote. They're going to be in sixth form, bro. What are you doing? Honestly. Just, wow, like, he smoked you. Honestly, like, Sadiq Khan's been made to look real stupid here. You're like, oh, he's trying to farm clips. You gave him the clip he wanted. You gave him everything he could have wanted in this 2-minute segment right here. Just honestly, it's Starmer that's put him in this position, and he's in a position where he doesn't want to ruffle too many feathers because Starmer is vindictive. But come on, bro, like, you're very detached from the Labour Party as mayor. We've seen that with Andy Burnham. Like, you need to get a spine. You need to get a spine, buddy. I'm going to be switching gears. A lot of this stuff is going to be dedicated to Peter Mandelson, or as Starmer would call him, PT. As what's his face? As what's the guy's name? Epstein would call him PT. So the rest of this video is going to be dedicated to PT and Starmer. And yeah, I'd probably call him PDF Mandelson. I think that's what the nickname I would give him. But yeah, Keir Starmer received official 2-page documents detailing Mandelson's friendship with Epstein before making him US ambassador. So this would have been come out last year. Cabinet Office Propriety and Ethics team said contact post-dated conviction. So he definitely knew about this. Most people call him Mandy. Who calls him Mandy? No one calls him Mandy. Doesn't even make sense. And this is, Morgan McSweeney. Morgan McSweeney apparently broke contact with dismissive Mandelson on Tuesday. Resolved he should be sacked after PMQs on Wednesday. They went to Brussels that evening. By the time he returned, his long friend and mentor was gone. So these two have some sort of history where I think Mandelson might have mentored him back when he was working in the private sector with data stuff, I think. Off to the shop. Anyone need anything while I'm gone? I'll take an ice cream, please. Will the act of patricide shift the... It's a bit weird, the way they phrased it. But yeah. This from Peston. This is the story of what the Prime Minister knew about the ruinous emails sent by Mandelson to the convicted billionaire paedophile Jeffrey Epstein and when. On Monday, 8th of September, that's this year, Bloomberg News, which had obtained more than 100 emails between Mandelson and Epstein, sent a letter to the Foreign Office containing excerpts of the emails and asking a series of questions. So the 8th was the Monday before PMQs this week, right? So we'll keep track of this. There's nothing personal on my calendar, so this is the 8th, right? So PMQs was on the 10th. So I want you guys to kind of keep track of this. On the 8th, Bloomberg News obtained more than 100 emails, sent a letter to the Foreign Office containing excerpts of the emails. These excerpts are what appeared on the Sun newspaper website shortly before 5 p.m. on Wednesday, 10th of September. So the Sun would have published this after PMQs. Bloomberg believes that somebody leaked the contents of the letter to the Sun in an attempt to take the sting out of their scoop, which hadn't yet been published by Bloomberg. So what they did is incredibly scummy. Someone in the Cabinet Office and the Sun did something incredibly scummy, which is when Bloomberg gave them the right of response, they leaked that information to the press. That's such a shitty thing to do. But the relevance of the Sun story in this context is it shows what was known in government circles about Mandelson's email to Epstein as early as Monday. So this is pre-PMQs. This is what I want you guys to understand, because in Prime Minister's questions, on the day, Starmer defended Mandelson. The letter contained quotes such as Mandelson telling Epstein, your friends love you, you have to be incredibly resilient, fight for early release from prison, and you will come through it and be stronger for it. Having seen the Bloomberg letter, Ollie Robbins wrote to the UK ambassador to Washington, Mandelson, on Tuesday. Sorry, I'm kind of struggling here for words. Tuesday, 9th of September, asking him whether the emails were authentic and they were why they were written and for other relevant information. So it's very clear what's going on here. Bloomberg going to the Cabinet Office for response. At the time of Prime Minister's questions on Wednesday, 10th of September, Robbins and the PM were still waiting for Mandelson's response to Robbins' letter. I am told that although Downing Street officials knew the Bloomberg letter before PMQs, the Prime Minister had not seen the letter and he was not aware of the details of its damaging allegations. So Starmer should have inquired at this point and said, what the hell is going on here? Many Labour MPs question whether Starmer was right to give that public support to Mandelson, even temporarily, given that Downing Street was aware of the existence of the calamitous emails, even if much of the detail was yet to be revealed. And again, that means the Foreign Office had the emails on Monday. They should have told Starmer straight away what was going on, and if they didn't, it shows you something really, really sick is going on in government. I don't mean sick in the good way. Robbins received a response from Mandelson to his letter on Wednesday afternoon, so post-PMQs. There was then a wait till 9 p.m. for Bloomberg to publish its lengthy exclusive story, which I've got somewhere on Twitter, which contained details of how Mandelson had supported Epstein in his challenge to the official investigation into his trafficking of children and charges of procuring minors, and that he remained friends with Epstein during and after he was convicted and jailed. So Mandelson knew about all of this and remained friends with him. Starmer reviewed the revealed emails of that night, so post PMQs. he had been aware of Mandelson's friendship with Epstein when he was appointed US ambassador in December, but on the night of 10th of September, the Prime Minister determined that Mandelson had not disclosed quite how close he was to Epstein. Now, honestly, given that it was public knowledge that he was friends with Epstein, they should never have hired this man for the role, and they knew that when they hired him. I assumed it was short for Mandelson. Now I'm beginning to wonder. Yeah, it's a bit weird, isn't it? Within Downing Street, there were concerns, however, that sacking Mandelson could damage the friendly relationship Mandelson and Starmer had developed with Trump and his administration. But there's no, what evidence is there that Mandelson actually did a lot to stop the tariffs coming in? All that happened was Trump was going to put the tariffs in, and the UK caved straight away to the US demands. That's all that happened. He got what he wanted, which was a state visit. There's no evidence for Mandelson doing a lot of this, anyways. I know it's hard to prove a negative in this case, but it doesn't make any sense. As for Starmer, he continues to face questions about his judgment in appointing Mandelson in the first place, given that his friendship with Epstein was public knowledge. Mandelson had twice been forced out of office due to transgressions linked to his friendships with the super wealthy. So, again, the Prime Minister clearly not in the wrong here, sacked Mandelson once he had the full story, but the thing is, he shouldn't have hired him in the first place, which is 100%, the argument of he made the right decision to hire him when he did, and he made the right decision to fire him when he did, is complete nonsense, given that he knew he had links with Epstein. He knew he was friends with the most prolific human trafficker in the Western world, potentially. That's who this man is. This from Beth Rigby.
I felt on the benches yesterday, watching Prime Minister's questions, he was deeply uncomfortable. It was like a holding position. And I think that once those emails had come out, had he not sacked Peter Mandelson, he would have had a mutiny on his benches, because there were so many Labour MPs, and particularly female MPs, absolutely incandescent. And there's a taste of that in our pod with Harriet Harman. So whatever Keir Starmer felt, there was no option here. Yeah. If you want to be the guy that cleans up politics, that backs victims over perpetrators, that stands on a ticket of law and order, there's no option here for him. But there are so many questions still about what did number 10 know when. There's a big question about political judgment. There's lots of things swirling around that advisors had suggested.
Internet died. Sorry, guys. Should be back up now. Don't know why that happens.
I felt.
So yeah, I agree. It should be back up. Huge fire process. Can you explain this one to me? Unless there was some other event I didn't know about today. So 110,000 people. So I'd say that's a lot of people. Far right, as in people that are typically right wing, normally racist, generally racist. Often start fights with the police. Does that answer your question, John? We should be back up, guys. I'm pretty sure we are. So yeah. If you're still there, John, I think that should answer your question. So yeah, are you back up? Yeah, nice. So yeah, it is a case of, I've seen people try and defend it, saying, Starmer felt uneasy about the decision to keep Mandelson, but what's his face? What's that goon's name? Morgan McSweeney backed, Mandelson, but it's like, okay, you're in charge, big dog. Like, you have to make the decision. You either keep him or you don't. And you haven't actually heard anything that these people are saying, though. It's got nothing to do with race. It's purely about British values, morals, and ethics. Can you explain what British morals, values, and ethics are, please? Can you state what each one is about? I'd love to hear it.
Had suggested to Starmer that Mandelson could come back because he has the magic Midas touch, and could he work with the US government and with Trump? And there's sort of talk about whether or not Starmer had misgivings, and this is where the political judgment comes in, because ultimately, had he had misgivings and he put Mandelson back in post, knowing that he had a relationship with Epstein, that Keir Starmer carries the can, furious about it. he carries the can. So there's a question of...
Which is true. Again, you're the leader. It doesn't matter what your advisor says. If they give you shit advice, that's your fault for hiring an absolute numbskull.
About judgment. And as Sam was reporting earlier, Sam Coates, our colleague, there's also questions about...
Varney's like, no idea is above scrutiny. Okay. Autonomy of the individual, that's just a nebulous statement. Freedom to critique any idea. Okay. So when these guys were protesting in London, right? You know, when they were fighting with police officers, is that what were they?
Protesters.
Which one of these ideals were they fighting for?
To access sterile areas, breach police cordons, or get to opposing groups.
So this is what the Met Police have put. Officers had to intervene in multiple occasions to stop the Unite Kingdom protesters trying to access sterile areas, breach police cordons, or get to opposing groups. A number of officers have been assaulted. So would you say like these protesters were espousing the ideas of British values and morals? Was it the case that they were just going over there to these other groups to have a conversation with them? You know, were they doing? You know, were they going to speak to them about British values? Because it doesn't sound like it. You know, were they going to go up to them and be like this? Because it genuinely sounds like this is the argument you're trying to make here. Is this what they're going to do? So are you saying these kind of British patriots were going to go over to these groups, right, and be like, let me tell you something? Is that what you're saying? Sadly, there are many people living here, brother. Yeah, I'm not going to lie, and I don't mean this in a mean way, right? When you guys talk about British, whatever, right? Britain for the British, right? You can't, when you talk about the importance of being English and all of these kind of things, right? You can't be writing a paragraph with very bad grammar and spelling. I'm sorry. Like, I know I misspoke there, but I'm not one of those people who talk about, oh, we need to be more British and all of this kind of stuff, right? You can't have all those typos when you're writing, a paragraph or a couple of sentences at best. Like, it's a bit embarrassing, G. Please do not attribute nonsense to what I'm saying. Okay, but I said there's a far right protest going on that happened in London, right? You're saying what far right protest, and I've just shown you footage of it. Are these people Are these your people that you're backing here? The ones that were fighting police? Are these your mans? That's what I'm asking you, John. Are these your mans? Because if they're not, then I don't know who your group is, but they look very far right to me. And I have labelled them as such.
Whether warnings were made, concerns were raised, and they were overridden, and he was appointed anyway. Did the Prime Minister know about those concerns?
He did know about these concerns because it is very well staying back up now. Sorry about that, guys. I don't know what. It's just suddenly, like, last week it was fine. That's what annoys me. Last week the last couple of live streams I had no issues, and then suddenly now there's issues. So I don't get why. So hopefully it should be fine. I think we're back. It's just really frustrating. So I think we're back up. I want to say we are. You just see the number drop and you just get annoyed, but not much I can do about it, unfortunately. So yeah, the little booster's on the floor, so I've just lifted it back up. So yeah, we'll just carry on as before. So yeah, Mandelson did not pass MI6 vetting for US ambassador role, but Starmer appointed him anyway. So if that's the case, he should go. That's it. This is Douglas Alexander being questioned on the subject.
Public interest to appoint a politician with known links to a paedophile.
So the extent and character of those links were not known.
The FT did a report this summer on a JP Morgan report which suggested that Peter Mandelson had stayed at the New York townhouse of Jeffrey Epstein in 2009 when he was de facto Deputy Prime Minister, and while the financier was imprisoned for soliciting prostitution from a minor. Do you think that Lord Mandelson, who is of course a close political ally of yours, has some questions to answer?
Jim, let me just first, on Peter Mandelson, look, and I do try to give pretty full answers in these sessions. I don't know any more than you do, and therefore there's not really much I can add.
Shouldn't you be asking about what's going on?
To what you already know, I'm afraid, and that's simply the.
It's crazy, isn't it? Like, he bypassed MI6 vetting, but apparently we didn't know. And this is Starmer, being really excited to sign Mandelson up.
Already I can feel there's a real buzz around Washington right now. You can sense that there's a new leader in town, that he's a true one-off, a pioneer in business and in politics. Many people love him. Others love to hate him. But to us, he's just Peter. And Peter is the right person to help us work with President Trump.
So, you can see how excited he is to sign him up on the team. And then, we find out Starmer defended Mandelson after officials knew about the Epstein emails, the BBC understands. So this goes against kind of what other people have been saying about the hesitation around, Starmer's hesitation around defending Mandelson, when apparently Starmer found out he was still defending him. Now, officials at Number 10 and the Foreign Office were aware of supportive emails between Mandelson and Jeffrey Epstein when the Prime Minister initially defended the former ambassador on Wednesday, the BBC understands. Sources stressed that Starmer was not aware of the contents of the email when he stood by Mandelson on Wednesday. So, all of this stuff come out in the Foreign Office, and they should have told him straight away what was going on. Maybe he didn't want to know. Or maybe he just timed his reshuffle really badly because he swapped out Lamy with Cooper. But yeah, Sir Oliver Robbins, Permanent Undersecretary at the Foreign Office, asked Mandelson about the emails on Tuesday. So why Sir Oliver Robbins didn't think to alert the minister at the time or the Prime Minister is just crazy to me. She, Badenoch saying, she said, looks like when the Prime Minister and Labour MPs were last week lying to the whole country about what they knew regarding Mandelson's involvement with the convicted pedophile Jeffrey Epstein. If Number 10 had those emails for 48 hours before acting, it means he lied at PMQs and ministers lied again about the new information. These are yet more errors of judgment. Backbench Labour MP Olivia Blake called Number 10's reported handling of the situation really embarrassing. I'd go far more to say it's more than just rather embarrassing. It's a complete farce, to be honest with you. A complete joke. This is just nuts. Blake added, whoever is gatekeeping the information to the Prime Minister needs to stop, and they need to be getting him things on a much earlier so that he can get on top of it. And again, it goes back to why did the Foreign Office keep that information away from Starmer? It doesn't make any sense, especially given how leaky they all seem to be. It doesn't make any sense to conceal this information from him, especially when he was going to go up and defend him. So it just doesn't make sense. And look, we had this picture. This picture was public domain for years. A picture understood to have been taken on the Caribbean island of St. Bart's in 2006. What are they doing? What is going on here? I think the world, the full emails were published in Bloomberg and The Sun on Wednesday evening. Quote, I think the world of you. I feel hopeless and furious about what has happened. Mandelson telling Epstein. This is for him going to jail for being a PDF. He thinks it was the wrong thing to send this man to prison, despite the fact that it was found that he was a pedophile. It is crazy. Mandelson added, you have been incredibly resilient. Fight for early release. Your friends stay with you and love you. Who are your friends? Like, honestly, if I had a friend, even if I knew a person who was accused of this stuff and convicted, I wouldn't associate with them again. It's crazy. This kind of defense is wild. 2002, Mandelson writes a memo encouraging then Prime Minister Tony Blair to meet Epstein according to the Times. Why would you want to meet Epstein? It doesn't make any sense. He's got the birthday book message to him in 2003. It's kind of crazy how Epstein kept receipts of all of this stuff as well. 2006, the message of support. 2007, Epstein negotiates a plea deal with Alexander Acosta. He's the same Acosta who, worked for the Trump team later on. Epstein pleads guilty to soliciting prostitution and soliciting a minor, and is sentenced to 18 months in prison, which doesn't make sense. Like, it's not, the charge they got him on doesn't make any sense, because a minor can't consent by law. Mandelson emails Epstein, 2008, 2009, apartment stay during the jail sentence. So Lord Mandelson stays at Epstein's Manhattan apartment while Epstein is serving his 18-month sentence. An internal report by JP Morgan Bank suggests, and that's from this clip we saw earlier. That's from this clip here. This is where they mention it.
And while the financier was imprisoned for soliciting prostitution from a minor, do you think that Lord Mandelson, who is of course a close political ally of yours, has some questions to answer?
Jim, let me just...
So look, that's literally in the clip we discussed about Mandelson staying with Epstein. That's confirmed. That's fully confirmed. Banking deal. During his time as business secretary, Mandelson reportedly asked Epstein to help broker deals for the sale of a UK taxpayer-owned banking business, according to the Telegraph. So he was trying to use Epstein to help get the UK business. This guy who was convicted, by the way. Epstein is arrested on trafficking charges in 2019 after lawyers in New York concluded they are not bound by the secret non-prosecution agreement that Alex Acosta signed. And then, obviously, we have all of this stuff here. Mandelson's affiliation with Epstein is thrown into the spotlight after a picture of him with Epstein on his private island, Little St. James, resurfaces in court documents, which is the picture we saw up here. And then 2025, House Oversight Committee releases a number of documents from the Epstein estate, including the birthday book with Mandelson's message in it. And you've got to think, if this guy, Lord Mandelson, loves the Labour Party as much as he claims to, right, why did he come back to politics when he knew this stuff existed? He might not have thought it'd be public, but he knew this stuff existed. And yet he's apparently the one, part of the ones who care about the Labour Party. He's pulled the Labour Party into the absolute ground with these kind of things. It's nuts. You've got Morgan McSweeney personally pushed for Mandelson's appointment as the UK's ambassador to Washington, despite knowing all of this. And of all the people who say, like, this guy, he's a great campaigner or whatever, right? This guy's an absolute moron. He's just another data head. Just like Dominic Cummings. That's all he is. He's not a genius. He's not. He could probably read some graphs and whatever, right? But this man's not that bright. He was against one of the worst conservative governments on record, and he won. He won with 36% of the vote. And you could say, oh, he's a genius because he targets specific seats or whatever, right? That kind of triangulation, it doesn't last. We saw that with Boris Johnson. All you do is build a coalition that's gonna fail. You're one and done, just like Boris Johnson was. Spent days defending him as pressure mounted over Mandelson's signs to Epstein. So we got this guy, Morgan McSweeney, who's defending a pedophile. And he's still Starmer's advisor, by the way. Sorry, not defending a pedophile, sorry. Defending a person who has known associations to a pedophile, right? In Jeffrey Epstein. And this guy's defending him? Really? While appointing Mandelson was ultimately Starmer's call, McSweeney personally pushed for the role of his mentor, despite the reputational risks. So this guy, he's heavily conflicted. He's heavily convicted because he's got personal ties to Mandelson. Number 10 said it would be wrong to attribute Mandelson's appointment to a single advisor, and that new details emerged about Mandelson. A process was put in place to remove him, and McSweeney did not resist that process. Apparently he did. Apparently he defended Mandelson to the end. This is absolute nonsense right here. I saw this from O'Brien. Do I have the separate clip or just this one?
I can't quite get my head around how Starmer let that go. I honestly find myself today thinking, for the first time, that Keir Starmer just isn't very good at this stuff.
What? That's crazy. That's crazy. I could have told you that in about 2001 after Hartlepool, mate.
I completely reserve the right to reverse ferret on this and to say that's more like it at some point in the future. But this story, more than any other, more than all the others, it just feels like such an easily avoidable mess. As a former director of public prosecutions who has done more than almost anybody else alive to address particularly the abuse of young women in this country, and indeed up to and including the so-called grooming gangs, How could he possibly not have thought that a deep and abiding association with a known paedophile, after the first conviction had been secured, would not come back to bite them all on the backside? I can't quite get my head...
He's finally figured it out, and, you got this meme from The Simpsons. James, you're still here? Boy, you are slow. It's pretty funny. Something said, not good, get the hell out of here. Yeah. It's crazy to me. It's nuts. There's such a good meme, though. But he's only just figuring out that Starmer's not good at this stuff. It's crazy, isn't it? Just want to see if there's any good comments underneath this. For the first time, James appears politically slow. Honestly, it's just... Yeah, I'll give him credit, right? He's a bit quicker than Phil on this stuff, but still it's pretty bad. Now you got blue Labour goons coming out.
First of all, the end of Peter Mandelson, I believe, is the symbolic and real end of New Labour.
Wonder if people are commenting and I can't see them because it's disconnected. Oh, it's gonna be proper shit. Bear with 1 sec, guys, if you guys can still hear me. Alright, sorry about that, gang. You're back. We're back. Yeah, it's back. Sorry about that, guys. It stopped me joining the chat, so I need to catch up quickly. Just want to see if that dude came back and said anything. Yeah, sorry about that, guys. I kind of missed all these comments because it's on a refresh. You thought Rishi Sunak was more charismatic than Starmer. That's an interesting one, That's a tough one. That's a tough one. I'm saying who's better at football, Ronaldo or Messi? That's close. That's close. That's an arguable one. I grew up with Savile on telly, but wasn't that involved with politics when Mandy came on the scene. But I got the same vibe from them. I don't know. McSweeney is the UK political class summed up, making a circumstance for talent every day. Star will be out by Christmas. I think he'll make it. I think it'll be fun. Who'd have thought the senior management class in the UK are as incompetent as as we all thought? That's true. Yeah, O'Brien is lucky getting paid loads. Yeah, true. We can hear you. Yep. What's that? Honestly, it's just nuts.
The second thing I would dispute with Jonathan slightly is that there were ideological reservations about Peter Mandelson from the Trump people, very strong ideological. He was the archetype of globalisation, of progressive globalisation.
And he badmouthed Trump.
And the rule of lawyers.
But I do want to get it onto Keir Starmer and his political judgment and indeed his position right now.
Okay, so we're talking about Keir Starmer in terms of his political judgment about people. I think what's going to boil down to is his judgment of the direction. At the moment, there is no clear direction or identity to this government.
Well, it's true, but there never has been. All they want is grow the economy and cut asylum. That's the only things we've heard from them.
And it's being blown around like a paper bag in a wind tunnel from crisis to crisis. There's got to be an understanding that what the election of Donald Trump indicate was a new era. Now, Jonathan finds that era scary and frightening. I actually find that era actually quite full of possibility.
Yeah, no, I'm not seeing that. This Labour MP trying to defend Starmer.
Chris Curtis, when was the last time you spoke to the Prime Minister?
It would have been around the time of the Euros.
So last year. Last year was the Euros.
Because I remember talking about Leah Williamson, who's one of my fantastic constituents.
It could be the Women's Euros, which was this year.
Here in Milton Keynes, and the brilliant work that she did on leading that team to victory, as well as talking about some of the issues facing the health service here in Milton Keynes and what we.
So that's what you lead with. Oh yeah, it's when the Euros, the Women's Euros was on. Yeah, great. Okay, and then we spoke about some NHS stuff. Sure, you did, buddy.
Doing to fix them.
So why did it take
Buried the lead there.
Barry Gardner 6 weeks? Is the PM picking favourites?
I mean, I can't remember the length of time it was before me asking to chat to the Prime Minister and speaking to him, but I have to say we live in an incredibly difficult and unstable world.
We live in a world where teams exist. Broker drop him a Teams message and be like, hi Keir, I don't think things are going that well. Do you think you'll be able to discuss it with me in person at some point? Sure, Barry, no problem. We can set up a meeting. We're in the era of Teams, bro. We're in the era of you can DM people directly.
You turn the news on and you see that every day, from conflicts in Ukraine to conflicts in the Middle East. And
we're not in a conflict though. Like, this idea that he's on call 24/7. Like, I swear he says he doesn't work after like a certain period of time on weekdays. It's ridiculous.
Unfortunately, that does mean that the Prime Minister is having to spend a significant amount of his time dealing and responding to these international...
He barely put out a statement about Israel's attack on Qatar. He barely put a statement out on that. He's not busy dealing with that. Come on, bro. Like, I get if it's Zelensky or or any leader that's actually in a conflict, but he's not. This idea is just nonsense. Starmer can't talk to his Labour colleagues because we live in a complicated world. Like, it's just complete nonsense. This is one of the reporters who works for Bloomberg.
Toxic resentment is the word for it, I think, those are the words.
Associate editor at Bloomberg.
For it. The mood is absolutely terrible. It's been terrible all week, actually. Even before the Peter Mandelson stuff, it was really, really sulphurous, and it was bad-ish before the summer. But I think people have had time to be away, to think, watch Nigel Farage kind of dominating the news agenda over the summer, and they've come back feeling really, really angry.
Yeah, he lets. We're gonna do it again, guys. We're doing this again. Should we do it again? I don't know. But yeah, he did let Farage have all the summer to basically talk absolute nonsense. And then you come back from recess, and what happens? Angela Rayner resigns because she didn't pay the right capital gains tax, which was her fault. No one else you can blame on that one. And then on top of that, you've got this whole situation with Mandelson within the next, 2 weeks? Back to back. This is the Barry Gardiner thing discussing it.
This top-down approach that is really pushing people to the limit. And it's not just members of Parliament. This is the rank-and-file members of the party. They're saying, what do they know about my ward? What do they know about how...
I said stamp duty, right? Did I say capital gains? Did I say capital gains? I meant stamp duty.
This local councillor may have been working very hard or mitigating circumstances that their partner was dying of cancer. And so there's this resentment that's being built up.
What?
They're saying, what do they know about my ward? What do they know? Pushing people to the top-down approach that is really pushing people to the limit. And it's not just members of Parliament. This is the rank-and-file members of the party. They're saying, what do they know about my ward? What do they know about how this local councillor may have been working very hard or mitigating circumstances that their partner was dying of cancer? And so there's this resentment that's being built up.
I'll be honest here, I'm not 100% sure what he's talking about here.
And that is toxic, and it has to be dealt with. But it will only be dealt with if, in fact, we see a much more open, listening approach. And it has to start at this party.
Yeah, I'm not sure what he's talking about there. There's more from this little clip we just discussed. With Starmer, he's replaced everyone at every level and everything keeps going in the same direction. The only conclusion can be that the Prime Minister has terrible judgment. Facts. And do you know who's saying this? It's the people at The Guardian, the ones who love Starmer the most. Peter Walker. I'm not too familiar with this one, but Pippa is one of their big dons over at The Guardian, one of their shooters. And yeah, they've taken some shots at him. I hate when media get annoyed about the use of ad blockers and stuff, and I can barely read the article because I don't have my ad blocker on for some reason. It's so weird, but okay, we'll roll with it. Keir Starmer has been warned but that time is running out to repair his faltering leadership, with Labour MPs beginning to ask whether he could be challenged as Prime Minister. As the disastrous week in which Rayner resigned and Mandelson was sacked as ambassador, was it in the same week? It basically was in the same week, wasn't it? It's very close to it. What's infuriating about Starmer et al. Is the shitness when it comes to policy, management, style, etc., without any results and their insistence of it. I'm getting them on principle too, but yeah, they're pretty bad. Personally, I think the clock is ticking, one MP said. It sometimes happens to people who are incredibly well-meaning, but you can pass that tipping point and can't recover. It came as Lucy Powell, who was sacked from cabinet in the reshuffle after Raine's departure, who is standing to replace her as deputy leader, called for a change of culture in Downing Street. She described as overly factional and error-prone, which is true. They are overly factional. That's facts. We've got a bit of groupthink happening at the top. The culture of being receptive to interrogation and not being receptive to different views, Powell told The Guardian. The only MP to go public in saying Starmer should go is Clive Lewis, a regular critic of the government from the left of the party. True, but Clive Lewis is also like genuinely a decent guy. The Norwich South MP told the BBC that Starmer has lost control within the first year, adding, "We don't have the luxury of carrying on with someone who I think increasingly, I'm sorry to say, just doesn't seem up to the job," which seems true, to be fair. I'd agree with Clive Lewis. Ours and Starmer are urging some sense of proportion. No one is oblivious to the scale of the challenge or the need to be better, least of all Keir. I don't think Keir Starmer knows he needs to be better. He's got back-to-back scandals here at this point. You know, we're not talking anything of Boris Johnson levels of proportion, but you're the guy saying, you know, you're going to clean up politics. You were the guy saying change you can believe in, and then the only change you brought is the scandals are different to what Johnson had. We know it's a difficult time, and MPs are worried about their own majorities. We're more than aware everyone is feeling febrile, but it's like you're the ones who are causing this mess. The Rayner one, okay, the Rayner one is not, you know, I'm not going to blame Starmer for that one, but the Mandelson one is 100%. What is this ad? The Rayner one is 100% on them. But yeah, I think it's Jenga. I think it's Jenga for Starmer. I think it's only a matter of time. You know, this is the thing I discussed earlier, which should be over here, really. Yeah, this should be like over here somewhere. Bear with. Which is sixth form politics. That's the politics of students. Labour not trying out the old right-wing standard student politics lines when someone asked them for a slight bit of equality. No, sorry, Labour, we're lowering the voting age to 16. Also Labour. Sixth form politics. Doesn't really make sense, does it? This is Rachel Maskell, who I think she's still got the whip withdrawn from her. I think she does.
So of course we need real scrutiny over what is happening at the heart of the Labour Party, at the top echelons of our premiership in our country. And of course we come to this at a time where a deputy leadership election has just got underway. And of course what I would say is that process must pause until we can find out actually what is happening in the roots of number 10, so that we all have that transparency we need at the moment. So of course we need...
So yeah, you know, they've got a lot to do. Yeah, people who think this Labour government won't exist anymore. Where's what?
Which people at home might not know what that means, but sort of the most junior rung of the government ladder.
The ministerial bag carriers.
It's taken them basically all week to fill those jobs because so many people have been turning those roles down.
Wow, people have been turning junior minister roles down. That's crazy because you think that there were so many Labour MPs, right? There were so many. I'll try not to tweet this one. There were so many Labour MPs, and you're thinking they should be queuing up for ministerial roles because a lot of them are new. They would want these junior minister roles, but no, they don't.
You know, and because they think that there's, you know, this government isn't going to exist soon. You mentioned sort of May as
they don't want to be associated with it. They don't want to be associated with this kind of failure.
An unofficial deadline. Some people in government are wondering if they can last until Christmas. They're talking about the budget as a kind of confidence vote. There's a real kind of end of days feeling, and I know this all kind of sounds dramatic, but when you speak, I think that there really is a kind of fundamental breakdown going on between Labour MPs and the government, where there's no imminent vote that looks really tricky, but lots of people in the government have been saying to me, and lots of Labour MPs have been saying, that they're feeling unwilling to vote for things that this government does. I think after just being put through unpopular decision after unpopular decision.
This is what happens when you don't consult people on decisions you're trying to make. This is the end of it. There's no trust, there's no belief, and so they're thinking, why should we back you? You're going to cost me more majority. Jeremy Corbyn discussing this kind of stuff.
I think Keir Starmer's effect has been to so disorientate and demobilise Labour opinion and Labour supporters in society. He's actually opened the door for Farage, and his endless statements which are very hostile towards asylum seekers and refugees, actually plays straight into the hands of Farage. What we need is people to stand up against Farage and against reform.
Who would be worse in number 10?
I don't want either of them in number 10, actually.
Oof.
So, but Farage is a real danger.
It's true, Farage is the real danger. Got a little bit more. Andy Burnham gearing up, laying the groundwork for a leadership bid. You know, Andy Burnham tweeted previously, "I've never taken part in a coup against any leader of the Labour Party, and I'm not going to start now." This is recent from this year. So we'll see. You know, Boris Johnson did the similar move where he left his role as Mayor of London and then kind of moved down towards becoming MP, and then essentially being the reason why Theresa May lost, or one of the reasons anyways. Theresa May was the own cause of her own downfall. But there is a rumour that there's an MP in Manchester who is looking to potentially stand down, and so that gives Andy Burnham a way in. And so that's the only way he could become leader of the Labour Party, because he has to be an MP to become leader of the party. But, you know, Starmer would have the option to block him, I think. But if he blocked him, he would look like a massive prick. He would look like the biggest coward on the planet. There's a reason why Theresa May didn't make that decision. And it's not just because she's, you know, Tory through and through. Lucy Powell, who was seen as kind of she's seen as like a person who is of the Burnham, kind of Burnham's like group, I guess. I did want to discuss Emily Thornberry not getting the role in as deputy, because she was supposed to talk about how important now is to discuss, you know, the situation going in Gaza when she had that infamous clip. But, you know, I'm just really behind in the news cycle, guys. I think damage has been done. I think so as well. I do want to discuss this final clip, which is Newsnight discussing if reform gets too much coverage.
The BBC's coverage
I haven't watched this yet, by the way, so.
Of Reform UK under the spotlight. Welcome to Newswatch with me, Samira Ahmed.
She's actually been with the BBC for a crazy amount of time, you know.
Should there be so much media focus on a party with just 4 MPs? And on a very busy day, what trust issues with Reform voters? Well, this week it was the turn of the House of Commons Culture, Media and Sport Select Committee to discuss this with the BBC's chair, Samir Shah, and its Director General, Tim Davie. Asked how to justify what one member of the committee called wall-to-wall coverage of a party with only 4 MPs, this is how they responded.
Our coverage, BBC News' coverage, it reflects not just the party representation in Parliament, but also what polling is telling us about how many people support one party.
This is bullshit. This is so much bullshit, because, you know, the situation was like, you know, even around the Brexit referendum, like, no, like this is absolute nonsense, because Reform were never that popular in the polls previously when they got coverage beforehand. Okay, voting intention. Like, they can only make this argument now because it's happened now. But this is absolute nonsense what he's talking about, you know, how they back public opinion and stuff like that. And you see how far back can I go on this? So if you think about how much media coverage people like Farage and Tice have gotten, if you look at Reform, they're on. This is the voting intention for previously. So this is 2024 to current. So you can see their kind of headline here, Reform UK, on 25%, right? But if we go back previously, you can see, I'm going to get rid of Labour, get rid of the Tories, right? See, Reform are on, you know, just above the Lib Dem Party. This is in 2024, right? So there's, you know, the Reform Party got way more coverage than the Lib Dems ever have. During the election, you know, Farage was constantly platformed, but Ed Davey wasn't. That's absolute bullshit what he's saying.
And what the actual numbers are. Some of the reporting that, you know, we're trying to ingratiate ourselves to one party or lean one way or the other is, frankly, for the birds. What we're trying to do is negotiate a new landscape fair.
So how come you haven't platformed Ed Davey as much then? What? Oh, my gain is really high. What's happened there? It's really weird. I don't know if... What? Maybe I've just gotten close to my microphone. I don't know. But this is bullshit what you say there.
That's it.
We asked BBC News for someone to talk to about their coverage of reform, but were told no one was available.
Shock.
Instead, let's speak to one of the viewers who has contacted us about this. Deborah Lee. Deborah, thank you so much for coming on Newswatch. Can I ask what prompted you to contact Newswatch about coverage of Reform UK?
I just felt that basically every time I turned on the radio, I normally listen to Radio 4 or the television, BBC News, that there seemed to prioritise coverage of reform and Nigel Farage and what he was up to, what he was speaking about. I wanted to know what kind of formula the BBC used to allocate time to all the parties, and was that related to the number of MPs that each party has in the House of Commons.
Also, in any poll of policies, Green policies are often most popular, yet the party fails to convert popular policies into votes. It's probably because the Green Party just don't have the infrastructure. The Green Party doesn't have a ton of infrastructure to really push themselves.
Well, the BBC does say that the formula, it does include the number of MPs, but it also takes into account support for them in the polls.
I think the number of MPs are important to me because
I'm telling you guys, like, Reform, Farage, UKIP have always been platformed by the BBC, right, regardless of what they're polling. This is nonsense. They're only saying this because of the fact that they're doing well in the polls now. But Farage has, a ridiculous amount of question time appearances.
I see them as democratically elected advocates for the people. So I think the more MPs there are speaking for the people, a smaller number of MPs shouldn't be prioritised over, for instance, the MPs, the Northern Irish MPs, the Greens and so on, and Liberal Democrats.
Deborah, there is some evidence supporting what you've been saying, which was published on Friday. A study from Cardiff University School of Journalism found that reform featured in over a quarter of all BBC News at 10 bulletins in the first half of this year, which is much more than the Lib Dems, for example. And I wonder what sense you get of how it is that reform's coverage seems excessive to you. What sort of things you notice about it?
I feel that Nigel Farage has more cover in general on television and in other media, whether he's in America or down the pub. He is not just displayed as sort of leader of the party, but also his character is more put out there. So I don't sort of see that it as proportionate, or it is disproportionate.
Do you think Reform UK are scrutinised in the same way by BBC News as other political parties are?
They're definitely not scrutinised at all.
Probably not. I think there has, although I am a Labour supporter, I think there's been a lot more emphasis on scrutinising the Labour government, which I think is fair if they are, in charge, so to speak. But I do think I'm not particularly interested in that. I'm interested in the party.
Here we go, guys. We've got something interesting going on.
Working for the people that voted them in there, and those more important issues being shown.
Deborah, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bear with us. I just saw something that looked really interesting on Twitter. Jordan Henderson still plays Premier League football. What? That was not the interesting thing I saw. It was this. So this is from Kate Ferguson, political editor at The Sun. Oh, I swear she worked for. I could swear she worked for someone else. Don't know if I could trust this one then. Sorry guys. Thought I had something cool for you guys, but no, she works for The Sun. I don't know. Gonna have to call her Doubt. But yeah, apparently they're going to get Andrew Gwain, that name's familiar, to give up his seat for this, which is kind of nuts. This guy, has he been involved in? Has he lost the whip? I can't remember. This is it.
What's he supposed to have said, Serena?
Well, it's embarrassing news for the government. This is the Minister for Public Health, as you say. And now the Daily Mail said that they've uncovered some messages which they've seen.
Oh, that's why his name's familiar. Right.
That they say are racist and sexist, made by the former minister. Comments in a private WhatsApp group with Labour councillors. In one post, he reportedly said he hoped a pensioner who didn't vote Labour would die before the next election.
Right, I remember this guy's. No, this is familiar.
He's also said to have made anti-Semitic slights and jokes about a constituent being mowed down, saying that they sound too Jewish, apparently just from hearing their name alone. There's also comments about the veteran Labour MP Diane Abbott, mocking her historic achievement for becoming the first black female MP. This is according to the paper, as well as sexist comments towards the Deputy Prime Minister Angela Rayner. So a litany of alleged comments, which he doesn't deny, but he's released a statement today saying, "I deeply regret my badly misjudged comments and apologise for any offence I've caused. I've served the Labour..."
So they want this guy to step down. I don't think he would, I think he had the whip withdrawn from him. So I just need to double check this stuff. I'm sure he must have done. MP for Gorton and Tenton, some northern nonsense. He's got his headers with his Labour rosette on. He hasn't tweeted since February. That's crazy. So yeah, it's kind of nuts. So they want this guy to step down, and the plan is for Burnham to replace him. I don't think that makes any sense whatsoever, to be honest. He tried to steal the mace. What? I don't know, guys. I'm not seeing the vision with this one. Maybe I'm like Wanda, no vision. But yeah, we're gonna end the stream here, guys. Sorry that it lagged out twice, which is just annoying, because whenever, like, honestly, I generally don't have internet issues. It's only when I stream on YouTube, so my internet seems to cut out for some reason. But yeah, we have a really good Sunday roast guest on tomorrow. Maybe I should do Saturday streams. Maybe this will be a thing. I'll definitely have to think about it. So I'm just going to show you guys before I head off. We have a really cool guest on for tomorrow, because Alex already posted it, so I can actually discuss it. We've got Francesca Fiorentini on tomorrow, and yeah, she's really cool. She's got a really big channel, and she's also she's quite interesting in terms of her delivery, because she's quite funny. So yeah, she's a very unique character in the space. There's not many people who have the politics and humour, and so in that vein, before I go, we're gonna watch something. We're gonna reference the funny thing I saw last week. And so yeah, because apparently people enjoyed this joke so much, we're gonna do it again. So bear with, guys. Just give me 2 seconds as I load this up. We're gonna see it again, guys. I don't care if you guys saw it last week, because we're gonna see it again, because this is literally the state of British politics as we speak. You already know what I'm referencing. There he is, big Farage on the interception, and boom. So yeah, tragic. But yeah, no, that's how politics is basically going at the moment. So we're gonna leave it there, guys. Sunday roast tomorrow. It's a good episode. Yeah, honestly, just a really, really great guest. Hopefully we'll get more Americans on. I don't know who I'd want to speak to on that side, to be honest with you, because I stopped listening to them a while ago. Like, I do like, obviously you got Sam Cedar, David Patman, a guy I don't really care for anymore. I'm trying to think of which guys I actually listen to for new stuff. I don't really listen to a lot of them as much as I used to, which is sad, really. But they're all pretty cool people, honestly. So yeah, not much more to say, guys. I just have a good evening, have a good night. What about my favourite clip? I have to boot up the soundboard. I'm working on the soundboard. I might make some changes to it. Sad thing is that Labour is fighting amongst themselves and parents can't feed their kids. Yeah, that is sad, isn't it? But that's, the fact that they don't want to get rid of the 2-child cap, that's on them. But anyways, I'm going to leave it there, guys. Let me know what you think in the comments below. If you are one of those people watching this back, I respect you. Like, comment, share, subscribe, support the channel on Patreon if you can, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.